Mario Kart Tour used to be a game that gets updated with new contents every 2 weeks, but ever since its final tour release, the next tour after the final tour are recycled tours from 2022 and 2023, and the cycle is ongoing for the second time. The next Mario Kart game being released for the Nintendo Switch 2. With Mario Kart Tour being on a live support, with Nintendo shifting their focus for the next Mario Kart game for the Nintendo Switch successor, how can Mario Kart Tour be revived without the need of making new tours? I got ideas for how Mario Kart Tour can come back with new drivers, new tracks, new features, and more without the need of making new tours. I have been wanting to make this video since early 2023. It's just I didn't work on this video, and since the next Mario Kart game is coming, this has been alarming to me. Mario Kart Tour is a different Mario Kart game because it doesn't matter if you don't reach first. What matters is how much points you accumulated in a track in order to collect stars to unlock rewards and to compete to other players for rank rewards and to increase your rank tier. So most of my ideas are about making Mario Kart Tour like just the old Mario Kart games. We are going to add a new main menu for Mario Kart Tour when you start the game. It introduces new sets of buttons. This is to introduce the first button, the return of single player mode as its own button. I've been vocal for single player mode for Mario Kart Tour by commenting those ideas in their tweets. Even if we are making a new single player mode, for those who love the tours, don't worry, tours still exist. It's just they exist in their tour button, wherein when you click it, it's like launching the Mario Kart Tour game, foreseeing each tours change the backgrounds of the game every 2 weeks. And it is to give respect to players who still grind the tours, whether it is for rank or the leaderboards. And for those who play the multiplayer of Mario Kart Tour that has Kart Pro and team modes. Note that my ideas won't be added to the tours but instead only for single player mode. So while single player exists, the recycle of tours in the tours button happen at the same time. In single player, when you click this new button, this is a separate thing where most characters are not unlocked, no level system, no tour challenges, no tour gifts, no rank and such from Mario Kart Tour. Instead, there is this 3D world where you will see cups based on items like the old games. The cups consist of the tracks from the previous games. This is your chance to play your favorite tracks instead of waiting for a certain tour to just play them in Mario Kart Tour. If you wonder how the cups will feature the courses despite Mario Kart Tour splitting their tracks into 4. For single player mode, each tracks are not split to 4 parts anymore, like just how the Mario Kart Tour courses were handled in the booster course pass of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where you can go to any routes of a course. So that is what single player mode of Mario Kart Tour will do to the tracks. Speaking of the tracks, Nintendo can add more cups that feature the tracks from the old Mario Kart games that Nintendo never added to Mario Kart Tour whenever they want to. It's like how mobile games keep getting updated with new levels. So basically, the cups don't run out unless you finish them all and wait for the next cups. But for this case, Nintendo shouldn't add new cups every 2 weeks like what they did for adding tours to Mario Kart Tour every 2 weeks. Because for me, that does sound stressful for Nintendo, adding new tours to Mario Kart Tour every 2 weeks since 2019 up until 2023. To stay true to the title of the game, Nintendo can finally add more courses based on other countries in single player mode, giving chances to other countries. Maybe Nintendo can finally give us the Mario Kart arcade tracks here since Bandai Namco also works for Mario Kart Tour but no Pac-Man references ever since. But this is their chance for Pac-Man contents. The challenges and battle mode from the tours of Mario Kart Tour are featured alongside the tracks. Because of single player mode, the other battle mode maps from the old Mario Kart games that weren't added to Mario Kart Tour will be added. Interestingly, sometimes a cup would feature a boss battle, like just the boss battles in Mario Kart DS. Let's talk about the drivers. So we are going back to the basic. You need to unlock the other drivers by doing certain things like the old Mario Kart games. Same goes to the karts and the gliders. To be fair, Mario and some characters are unlocked for free. So even the outs of the drivers can be unlocked by doing certain things. This will make Mario Kart Tour fun where people will keep engaging on how they can unlock the other characters. Maybe the search bar pertaining to Mario Kart Tour will get even more common in the internet. Mario Kart Tour can also add new drivers in single-player mode that never made it to Mario Kart Tour. The drivers for this mode will be like the old games with stats featuring their sizes from light, very light, medium, heavy, and very heavy. Now, when you play courses in single-player mode, you can play whoever you want, unlike in each tour of Mario Kart Tour where you need to pick drivers who are on the top shelves for points and to activate a frenzy. Same goes with the karts and the gliders. You can literally be any character now. Also yes, because of new drivers being added, karts and gliders from the old Mario Kart games will be added in this mode. Note that in single player mode, you cannot unlock any drivers, karts, and gliders by pulling them from pipes. Pipes won't be in single player mode. Mario Kart Tour didn't give us the chance to make us play the game manually. Therefore, even if you aren't controlling, the kart itself will drive automatically. Single player mode changes that. Now there are buttons for accelerate, reverse, like the old Mario Kart games. Meaning the game itself won't let your kart drive automatically, but it has to be your fingers. Plus, poses for stunts of the drivers will no longer be automatic. It has to be you activating it, like just the old Mario Kart games. When you go to a wrong direction, Guide Lucky 2 appears. The new user interface is going to be similar to Mario Kart 8, and with how many outs Mario Kart Tour has for drivers, each out can be viewed in a window of a driver so that the characters list is concise. In the old Mario Kart games, you can customize the wheels of a kart. I mean, come on, why not for Mario Kart Tour? So let's have that feature in single player mode. Mario Kart Tour becomes big in the single player mode, and since the old Mario Kart games featured 12 drivers for each tracks, Mario Kart Tour gets tough with the addition of 12 drivers in a track for single player mode, making Mario Kart Tour challenging. Since Mario Kart Tour didn't get the items from the previous Mario Kart games, they can finally be added in single player mode. And what's more interesting if Nintendo introduces new items that were never in the previous Mario Kart games. Every driver can now use any items like just in the old Mario Kart games, so there is no such thing as special skills anymore. Let's add to the fact that the feather from battle mode of Mario Kart Tour will also be available in single player mode. And with how different the items of Mario Kart Tour functions, it will now be the same as the previous Mario Kart games. Like for example, Fire Flower, where you can now shoot a lot of fireballs. Now it's you controlling the items instead of it being automatic. There won't be a frenzy in single player mode. Instead, we will have the Superstar return. In fairness, Superstar actually exists in the multiplayer mode of Mario Kart Tour, but here in single player mode, Superstar is common. Mario Kart Tour had 200cc paid, but in single player mode, 200cc is definitely free like the old Mario Kart games. Some of the previous Mario Kart games have crossover characters, though they never made it to Mario Kart Tour. A Nintendo Kart was rumored for years, but that didn't happen at all. We don't know if the next Mario Kart game will introduce a lot of crossover characters, but single player mode is the key for Mario Kart Tour to finally have the crossover characters. Like me just mentioning Pac-Man, who can even have his Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures out, who was made playable in Mario Kart Arcade GPDX. Who knows when we also see the past crossover characters like Rob, Mamechi, Donchan, Blinky, Miss Pac-Man, Link, the Inklings, the Villagers, and Isabelle And Kinopio-kun, ever since he was just only used for advertisements in the Line app featuring Nintendo for Mario Kart Tour. You can have Robot Mario and its alts if you want to, but I would really love to see Pac-Man. Since Miis are also available for single player mode, the crossover Mii racing suits that were not added to Mario Kart Tour can also be unlocked. Crossover characters for Mario Kart Tour finally becomes true, and imagine if we see new crossover characters. If Nintendo wants to make Mario Kart Tour profitable again after the gacha removal, except for players that are only paying for the gold pass and the offers, I know this may sound controversial, but there will be some drivers, karts, and gliders that cannot be unlocked from quests, but just by buying them. The reason why I thought of this is Nintendo still needs to earn profit when they introduce single player mode. Mario Kart DS did have mission mode, so let's say we have quests in single player mode, but they can also unlock drivers, karts, and gliders. Players would just need to complete these missions to make them much more busy in single player mode, and that sounds fun if you think about it. Like I said, each courses won't be split into 4 parts. Unless it's like finishing a course and then you have unlocked a variation of this course where you can play its reverse version, trick version, and its reverse trick version as a mission. But I think it really depends to Nintendo. Okay, why not when we finish a course we get to race against a ghost like the old Mario Kart games just for a competition? I mean, it depends if Nintendo wants that. Anti-gravity tracks of Mario Kart 8 were never added to Mario Kart Tour, but like I said, this new single-player mode update makes Mario Kart Tour a very high-end game in terms of its storage being huge. Yes, there will be devices that will no longer support Mario Kart Tour in order for this to happen. You guys do know there are mobile games with huge storage sizes because of such big features, but I don't think 10 GB and above will be the cause of anti-gravity. Nintendo can tone that down for each anti-gravity maps from Mario Kart 8 to Mario Kart Tour. I think anti-gravity being featured in single-player mode would even more make Mario Kart Tour interesting. A brand new multiplayer mode will be available as another button in the main menu. It is basically single-player mode but with multiplayer. So whatever drivers, karts, and gliders you unlock in single-player mode can all be playable in this multiplayer mode. Here you can invite your friends to play any cops and battles, but not only Balloon Battle is here, but also Bob on Blast, Renegade Roundup, Coin Runners, and Shine Thief if Nintendo wants to add them all from Mario Kart 8. Nintendo can also make events for single player mode, especially when they want to celebrate something and where players get the chance to unlock new content. This would be the big events that Nintendo could not do before for Mario Kart Tour, and it would be really fun to participate at them, similar to how Super Mario Run does events recently. Let's say you don't have a Wi-Fi for now. You can play the courses offline as long as Nintendo allows them. This would be fun. I mean, it's like playing Minecraft Worlds without playing online. I have seen other mobile games that require internet that lets players play their games offline by limiting some parts of their games. Those are all my ideas for Mario Kart Tour, so if ever Nintendo's done working on the next Mario Kart game for the Nintendo Switch 2, they can just come back to Mario Kart Tour like what they have been doing to Super Mario Run. And for Mario Kart Tour to add new contents like new drivers, new courses, and new features without the need of making new tours, but all for single player mode. What do you guys think about my ideas? I would appreciate it if you guys share this to Nintendo or such. It is such a big dream come true if Nintendo ended up doing this to save Mario Kart Tour. But for me, these are the only ways Mario Kart Tour can be revived and can become much more relevant than ever.